ready to go.
Good evening. I want to welcome everyone to our July board meeting. I hope you're cool enough. If not, we made sure that we turned the heat on so that we could. I'm going to ask Mr. Hill if you'd call the roll, please.
Mrs. Cruz.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. McDonald. Here. Mrs. McFerrin.
Here.
Mr. Safko.
Here. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
All right, we'd like to welcome the public and also announce our new principal for BL Mother, Heather Whitby.
And also, prior to us going into executive sessions, we're going to ask everyone, we've got punch and cookies back there. That way we can spend a little time with Mrs. Whipke and get to know her. And that way everyone gets an opportunity to speak with her and everything. So we are really privileged and pleased to have her with us this morning. Because she's not even on the payroll yet.
Okay. Changes to the agenda, deletions, corrections, or additions. I have one change to the agenda. It's actually a deletion. It's item 9. And I'd like to delete the words substitute teachers and use of days out.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion. Second.
Mr. Hill, call the roll, please.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mr. Safko.
Yes.
Okay. Item 4, motion to approve the following. Grant permission for the treasurer to transfer $1,700 from the general fund to the student activity fund Destination Imagination on behalf of Bill Safko's refusal to accept his board meeting compensation for the first half of 2014.
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mrs. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Safko.
I'll abstain.
Item 5, motion to approve the following. The agreement between the Mahoning County ESB for our special education services for fiscal year 2015.
Motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Safko.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Item 6, motion to enter into an agreement with Access to provide EMIS services.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
I think I missed something. Mr. Safko.
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes.
Item 7 is the motion to discontinue the computer applications classes as a local requirement for graduation.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mrs. Cruz.
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin.
Yes.
Mr. Safko.
Yes.
Item 8 is the MOU between the Sebring Local School Board and the Education Association regarding minimum school year.
Motion.
Second.
Roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
And Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Item 9, motion to approve the following. It's a service agreement with the Mahoning Valley Regional Council of Governments through June 30, 2015 for the employment of educational aides.
Motion.
Second.
Roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Item 10, motion to approve the attached salary schedules based on the recent OC contract modifications. That's for items A through C, the food service administrator, treasurer's assistant, and the superintendent secretary.
Make the motion.
Motion.
Second. Roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris?
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Okay, 11, motion to approve salary adjustments for administrators that parallel salary adjustments given in the recent teachers' contract settlement.
Motion.
Second.
Roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Okay, item 12, to approve the following donations, both to the athletic boosters. They donated $625 for softball program and $625 for our baseball program.
Motion.
Second. Roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
13, motion to accept the following resignation. That's for Sandy Brewer, bus driver.
Motion. Second.
You with it?
Roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Item 14, reassign the boys summer basketball coach from Josh Scott to Alex Stahl for the 14-15 school year.
Motion.
Second.
Roll.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Item 15, motion to approve Alex Stahl as a volunteer for the boys basketball program for the 14-15 season.
Motion.
Second.
Roll.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Item 16, motion to grant one-year supplemental contracts effective 14-15 school year at the current salary schedule. And we have items A through AA.
Motion. Second.
Wait a second. Did we?
Yeah.
We did.
Yep.
Okay.
Unless you have some more.
Yeah, any questions? We did talk to them. They're okay with it.
They're okay with it.
They're okay with it.
Roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Safco?
Yes.
Item 17, motion to grant permission for the Canton Gladiators to use the football field and stadium on July 26, 2014.
Motion.
I think this needs to be, have more discussion.
We've got to have a second before we discuss them.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm all for to have the Gladiators use their football stadium, but I think the football stadium, the stands are in such bad condition that if someone gets hurt, we're liable.
They are really bad.
I don't even think our own football team should be in them.
What happened with the back wall, with the front wall? We went up that
Couldn't get in, the key was changed.
All right. Press box, the back wall. Did we get a quote yet? Did we get
a
a quote?
What's Dan Burkhart doing about the football
The,
stadium?
Dan has looked at all the repairs that need to be done. There's about 3 places on the floor. There's about 4 places on the front wall. There's a vent that needs to be put in, and there's a couple other things that need pointed up. He's agreed to do it. He hasn't given me a quote. He's going to be doing the staircase going into the locker room. We're eliminating that staircase because it's deteriorated. I haven't got a quote from him yet. I'd be glad to get a quote. Generally, when he does little jobs like that, they're time and material. They're really inexpensive to do. He's going to be here anyhow. I would recommend the board that we just go ahead and let him do it. He's going to be here. He's planning on being here this coming Thursday. So, and he's coming tomorrow morning to order materials, look and see what materials he needs for the locker room. So, go ahead.
I would like to know though, this is just a quick fix for the stadium. How long before the rest of it crumbles? We need to do something about that stadium.
I don't know how long before it crumbles.
I mean, it's bad.
It was built in 1937. When you go up in the stands, Mrs. Viscount and I walked the stands in the floor area where people put their feet or where they walk up the steps. There's only about 4 places that are deteriorated where the cement's coming out. We've had repair work done in the past. If you walk over there and you see the repair work, you'll notice that it's held up pretty well. Some of that repair work was done 3 years ago. Some of it was done 5 years ago. So it's held up pretty good. So I think once we get those current things fixed, I think it could last us quite a while. I don't think it's structurally unsound. I mean, I think it would take an engineer to determine that. I mean, I don't have the qualifications to do that, but we've had a lot of repairs over the years. It was probably 13 to 15 years ago that wall along the front was redone. And of course, freezing and thawing and those kinds of things has caused that to deteriorate, so it needs repaired again. And there's 4 pretty bad spots that can be repaired pretty easily. And there's a couple minor spots that just need kind of plastered up.
Some of the blocks, the mortar has just let go
Right.
completely. Now, has he been able to determine behind all the facing, everything else, how much of that block? I mean, just because there's a face on it doesn't mean the mortar has.
Right. Well, he would be able to inspect that from underneath the stadium, but from what he could see, he and I were in the stadium on Saturday morning, and he was looking that whole situation over, and from what he could see, it looked pretty sound. There are some areas, one area in particular, where he's going to pull out about 6 blocks and put new block in. So, Mr. Burkhart's done work for us numerous times in the past, and he's always done a nice job.
The one step that's deteriorating, I don't know if it's a step or a riser, but you can see that the concrete has crumbled. Can he fix that also?
Yes.
Is that something he does?
Yeah.
Because if we're going to get it done, let's just do it. Because, once it starts to crumble, it's just going to go from bad to worse. So
Right.
we might as well try to get it in the best shape we can possibly get it, because it's gone too long without attention as it is.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know exactly. I'd have to look in the records and see when the last repairs were made, but it's taken some weather.
Yeah.
Well, I think the question is the stadium ready for fans for an event?
My personal opinion is yes. Dave Yagi has looked at that as well. There was that one section where the floor, the foot area is bad. He had that.
Can we tape that off or something for this Saturday or?
Right. He had that taped off last year, I think. But yeah, we can take that off.
I think is that agreeable with you, Ron?
My concern is kids, they crawl all over those railings, and that wall gives out and goes down, we're done.
I think
that's just my opinion.
If we can barricade something off or whatever, that some area where they shouldn't be going. And
how many people you're going to get? Maybe you only use one side.
I said the average. I've heard that the average is about 50 attend the
What if we use
game.
the away
Just
side?
use the one side, we'll use the away side.
Use the away
Block
side.
everything else
Structurally
off.
sound.
I mean, even on the home side, the first three sections from the west going east are in really decent shape. It's the fourth section, there's 5 sections, it's the fourth section that's the worst.
We could rip off the last part.
Just
rip off the
rip
last
off
part.
the last part. I mean,
Yeah, the last part's ripped
you know,
off.
you're talking about 2 teams, you don't want them side by side each other in the stands.
You don't want to show up that day.
Let's get some excitement in
Okay.
Sebring.
Is the field ready for it?
The field is, that's a good question. The field is so dependent upon the weather.
Right.
You know, we tried to get the field ready for camp for today. The grass was a little bit long, and we didn't have the equipment to deal with that grass the way it needed to be dealt with. So we brought somebody in that had the equipment to deal with it, and it took them 2 hours to get that field in shape. So we mowed it again today, just taking about probably between 3/4 and an inch off, and it's been lined, and it looks pretty good. And Saturday it looked really great.
Okay.
So
Ray, our football team is having a scrimmage Friday night, so obviously our staff will feel like we'll have the field in shape enough for our team, I would like to think. So I would think it'd be fine for Saturday too.
All right. So, Ron, you're concerned as long as it's roped off, then
I'm all good as long as we don't get any kids on.
is that okay with you, Nancy?
Rope it off.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Kids
right.
off.
Call the roll.
Mr. Safko,
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cruzen,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Okay, before I turn it over to comments, I do have a thank you note that was written by the High School Improvement Committee in regards to the EMIS discussion that we had the last time. SEBRING Board of Education, thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns. We appreciate your time. Please let us know if any additional information you may need. And then I'll make sure that they know what's going to transpire.
Okay.
Okay, item 18, comments from SLEA.
I had a couple of questions. The first thing is, we usually get basically the same thing you get as far as the packet is concerned. And this time we didn't. We got this emailed to us, but we don't have the back, like C number 1, C number 2, yeah. So we were just questioning where that would be. And then the other thing was, where's the volleyball grade school positions? We had a SLEA member apply for that position, and it is not on this supplemental list. I didn't know if maybe then that'll be in August, but usually in August is when they start to practice for volleyball. So we just had a question about that. I don't know. It's a new supplemental, yeah, that was added from our negotiations. Okay. Okay. Yes.
19, comments from the public.
Yep.
I thought maybe there was a protocol. When I was more involved with the athletic boosters, I know that often we would discuss the continuous improvement, the money that would come in for that to the school, and I haven't heard anything about that lately. I wondered what have we been doing with that, and after we started talking about the football stadium, I thought, what have we been using that money for?
You mean permanent improvement funds?
Yeah, that went for the buildings. I just remember when we tried to think of things that we could do through athletic boosters, sometimes that money came up and we could, use that instead.
If I may, the permanent improvement fund is it's about a $3 million fund, I believe. It raises almost $100,000 a year. That money has to be used for anything that has a life expectancy of 5 years or more. So we use that money wherever we need to use it. Sometimes it's in the past it's been used to purchase books. In the past it's been used to purchase computers. It's also used to do repairs, like at the stadium. It's used to do repairs to the boiler system. We have a repair necessary to the boiler right now. It's about $12,000 here at high school. So it's used for that because that improvement well, it's actually a repair, but it will last 5 years. It's the first major repair we've had. One of the first major repairs in about 13 years. So that's where that money goes for there. We're going to be doing some refurbishing over here on the east side of Brook Gym because of a deteriorated outside staircase. Permanent improvement funds would pay for that. A lot of things that the money's used for, year in and year out, it's different things. Depends on what the projects are. In the past, we put carpet in some of the schools. We put new carpet in where the carpet was really deteriorated, and we've used money for that. In the past, we've painted some of the classrooms. We've used money for that. If I had a little bit of time to look it up, I could give you quite a long list, but that's the kind of things the money gets used for. Our expense this year, I can tell you, we took in $103,000 in permanent improvement, and we spent $89,000. We have a current fund balance of $100,000. So there's money there to do things. My personal preference as the treasurer is to keep about $50,000 of that for emergencies, because if a boiler blew up in the middle of winter, it would cost $50,000 to fix it, or it could cost $50,000 to fix it if we had to replace it. So there's those kinds of emergencies you want to set some money back for. But in the past there was a garage over here in the corner that was built with permanent improvement money. That's what we call our maintenance garage. That's where we keep our vehicles. There's just a host of things that the money's used for.
So would any of that be available for the stadium?
Sure. Yeah.
Mr. Hill, does that money roll over from year to year? So if there's
Yes.
a year that you don't use as much, that stays in the fund?
Right, it always
and then
stays in
we
the
keep
fund.
getting- So
Yeah.
do we have an accumulation of money in that fund now for years we didn't need as much?
Right. We have $100,000 in there at the end of June. There was $100,000. There's about $34,000 in encumbrances. That means the money's pledged to different repairs. I can think of three repairs, three major repairs that are going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
The parking lots are going to be repaired. They've already started that process. The boiler, as I mentioned before, needs to be repaired, which is about a $12,000 item, and I think it's about $5,500 to redo the staircase over here. So that money's been set aside.
This might tie in a little bit to what Amy was mentioning, I don't know. And you may already be aware of this, but Coach Springer mentioned the condition of the paint in the stadium. He said that if we were to get the paint, the coaches and the team would do the work. So
That'd be
that sounds like a pretty good
money
deal.
to buy that paint would be
I have information we can discuss later about the paint.
Right. Yeah, it'd be permanent improvement. Yeah, I can't tell you exactly when. It's been maybe 14, 15 years ago that stadium, the home stadium, was done with a product called Seal Cream. It had a purple cast to it.
And the stuff that we purchased from Sherwin-Williams, he went back in the computer in 2009, and he's thinking that might be the last time when we had painted it.
2009. That seems too soon.
Okay.
That's still
That might be
5
something
years.
different. Okay.
So I might have actually touched up or something. But
Right.
when we really did it, we hired a contractor to come in and apply that stuff. It was sprayed on. It was real thick, sprayed on. Does that answer your question?
Is that Amy's at? Before we excuse for executive sessions for a moment, I've told you that this board wants to be the most transparent board as we possibly can, and I believe the public was led to believe that we got a $10,000 grant for the cameras. Okay. Mr. Hill, do you remember how much we actually got reimbursed for those?
I believe it was 2,630, maybe. I don't know exactly. It's real close, 2,630.
Are we allowed to discuss that, or is that?
I'm sorry, what?
Are we allowed to discuss that?
You can say what, yeah, I mean, it's...
Absolutely.
That's the money coming.
No.
Are the
What
cameras going back?
happened? Does anybody know? Are you able to say?
Yeah, the grant was for the door camera. not-
Interior, exterior?
For one door per building. And you could have been reimbursed up to $5,000 for that one camera or whatever the door, everything. So, kind of misled, I would say.
Are we returning those cameras?
Huh?
Are we returning those cameras? To get them money back?
No, they've already been installed and all that,
Already
so.
a done deal.
So, yeah.
About
15,000.
15,000 something? Yeah.
Does that come out of the improvement plan?
Yes.
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 Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It came out of permit.
Yep. Mr. Iger.
Mr. Iger?
That board approved?
Prior board.
It was a prior board.
Right, it was approved by the prior, former board.
Was it approved at a board meeting?
It was not, my recollection is that it was not approved as a resolution. It was approved.
It was not approved in public session as a board vote.
And then when we took over, when we assumed our responsibilities as board members, we were led to believe that it would be a $10,000 grant. You see, we got 2,600. So.
Is that a small claims court?
No, you can hold us against us for not really checking or whatever, so.
Okay.
I was wondering what's going to be done about the flower beds around the schools. They're horrible. The grass is really tall. They just looked horrible all summer.
Those things are going to be discussed in executive sessions in just a few moments. Yes, and for you, when we do go into executive sessions, we'll be in there for just a short time, and we will come out with some action to be taken, and then we may go back into executive sessions for a longer with no action to be taken. So.
Item 20 then would be to go into executive session.
Okay. And prior to us going into executive sessions, as I said, we'd like to have the opportunity for everyone to meet Mrs. Whipkey, and there's punch and cookies in the back. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fackrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Gruson?
Yes.
Mr.